Jeff Koinange live at the Intercontinental Hotel. What a guest and what a theme. A lot of people complain that we don't feature women enough on this show. Well, fear no more. Rachel Muthoga and her team, called Moving the Goalposts, are literally doing that. Moving the goalposts for young women in both Kilifi and Kwale counties, giving them a chance they would otherwise not have gotten. And they're doing great things out there, amazing things. Check it out, www.mtgk.org. Also, you can tweet MTG Kilifi at Koinange Jeff, hashtag JKL. What a team, what a concept. I mean, it's incredible. Let's go to Beyond Zero campaign by the First Lady.
Yes.
So how did you all get involved with them?
So we had been happily working along planning our festival, and then we get word from headquarters that the Beyond Zero campaign is going to be launched in Kilifi on the 1st of December, which is the day that we had all asked our stakeholders in Kilifi if we could hold the World AIDS Day celebration, because we intended to bring all our international guests to the celebration. So it was really interesting dealing with the campaign, the prep for it. But on the day, we actually prepared a special package for the First Lady. So the way it worked is that, she would come and look at the exhibitions. And so we prepared that when she got to us, we were going to give her a branded bag and a football. And so when she actually walked up, and we had this branded football that says Moving the Goalposts and Beyond Zero campaign, and she's like, wow, this is nice. And I'm like, you get to take one home. And so, but she was really interested. And for me, I looked at her, I actually, when I got a chance to speak during the main event, I said, she's inspiring. She's a woman who's used sport. She's ran those marathons for the sake of building advocacy, and also bringing funds into the Beyond Zero campaign. So she's basically someone who's using sport for the sake of social ends. And that's what Moving the Goalposts is also about. So for us, and I said to her, she's an inspiration because she's an athlete.
Yeah.
She runs marathons.
Correct.
She's definitely an athlete. And so she represents to the young people that we work with in Kilifi, a woman who's also using her power and her physical ability to be able to make, to make things happen in society.
Was she impressed with MTG?
Oh, yeah. She definitely was. She definitely was.
Did she meet some of the girls?
She did. She got to meet, she saw some of the girls who are on the exhibition with me. Yes.
More importantly, what did the girls think of her and what she's doing?
They were so amazed. They were happy, first of all, that she was in Kilifi and they got to see her in person. But then also that she's managed to translate and to communicate to people the passion that she has. And so the passion that she has, people believe that she's actually going to do something and that her movement and the campaign will have a great impact. Yeah. So people are excited to get behind it. Our stakeholders, other stakeholders are excited to get behind the campaign. And for us, what we see it as, directly as Moving the Goalposts, what we can do with the campaign is that we give out a lot of information to the community on where health services are available. We also are a contact point for a lot of people. Our young peer providers are the first contact point for a lot of people in the village who maybe if a crisis happens, a health crisis happens, they'll be the first person called because then they know that they'll be able to get to Kilifi town. Yeah. And so they will have this resource and they'll be able, if something is happening in their vicinity, they'll be able to make that call and say, we need an ambulance. We need the mobile clinic to come this way. This is happening on the ground. Yeah. And so that setup, for us, we see it as a great value addition to our program.
Yeah. So Rachel, if you had a wish list, if someone came up to you and said, listen, what do you need to make Moving the Goalposts grow? What is it?
The first thing I would say is we definitely need to have financial support. The second thing is for us to be able to have the platform to be able to campaign for this program, for this method, because it's about thinking about the method and how, the what, the how we do what we do, to be recognized and known Kenya, all over Kenya. But then the third thing is also that we need people who will come and stand behind us. People who will say to the young people that you should participate in this. You should participate in this. You should get involved in a youth program. You should get involved, someone who will inspire these young people and say, go out there, join a youth activity, be able to make a difference in your own life. And so we certainly need people who will stand behind us and say, this works. Young people should join up.
Yeah. Yes. Speaking of this works, for decades, it's always been about the girl child. And obviously, in the end, the girl child came out smelling like roses, and we forgot the boy child, for the most part. What do we do in your case? How do we bring the boy child in and bring them both together?
I think, and really, we must step back on this issue and say the reason why we got a lot of hype and information and just the work that was done to get the girl child to the place where it became a national issue is because of the challenges that the girl child was facing. So you're working in an environment where one person is advantaged and another is greatly disadvantaged. So you have to work to get to the point where at least they're even. But then at no point also should we forget the other party. The boy child in this case. They should not be forgotten. They should certainly be part of this process. And for organizations such as ourselves, we don't have the capacity or the expertise to run a full boys program, but other people do. And so for us, we really want to see support also going to other organizations that are working with boys, especially in football. There are a number of organizations that are reaching to young people, young boys through football. And so we also want to see them supported too. But then to also look at, like, for our program, we've also come to understand as we grow that just focusing on the girls does not necessarily mean that, especially when you're working on issues of sexual and reproductive health, you have to have the other party. And so what we've done is that we've incorporated a program where the health information that we give these girls, we have now brought on board coaches from boys' teams who come, sit in class, get the same information that we're giving to the girls, and then disseminate it through their football teams. So we may not necessarily be able to run a full boys program, but through that method, we're able to ensure that the boys are also receiving the same information that the girls are receiving. And hopefully, as we continue to grow, there'll be fully fledged programs where the boys can be able to receive as much support as they can.
Because you mentioned at the top of the show, the one word radicalization is what's really scaring a lot of people out there. And these youth, these young men, angry young men, unemployed, disenfranchised, you know, have no future, no hope. It's an easy thing for them to be radicalized.
Oh, true.
Can this thing help?
This can certainly help. As we said, it's about keeping them busy, and it's also about giving them a vision so that even when someone comes and says, I want you to join part of this, to be part of this gang or this group that's fighting against the government, they'll just be too busy. They'll be too busy making an income, they'll be too busy working towards their dream, and they will then be disinterested. So as government or as a country, as we're responding to this issue of radicalization and the challenges that we're facing, especially with terrorism, it's also to look at not just the laws that we are putting in place, and not just be one-sided about the approach, but also to look at what alternatives are we giving to young people, both men and women, both girls and boys. What alternatives are we giving them when they are faced with this choice? Because it's a choice that a young person is faced with finally. And so they have to choose between one and the other. And if it's the only choice that they have is to join this group so that they can continue to have food on the table, so that they can maybe ensure that their younger siblings have food on the table, then we really would be failing them. Just to say we have a strong law that says you shouldn't, therefore you shouldn't. We have to work at it from both perspectives.
The other thing that affects the coast, and we hear it a lot, is drug addiction. Do you all talk about that as well? Is that a problem? It
is a big problem. It is a big problem in the area where we work in. It's a big problem that's in fact that's impacting on both boys and girls. And so it's something that we work on. We definitely talk about it, especially on issues of health, staying healthy, because you can't be a footballer who then goes off and does drugs, because you won't make it for practice the next time. But it's something that also needs to be dealt with so that it's no longer an option for someone to have access to the drugs. So that in terms of looking at the enforcement of the law to ensure that there's actually no access, looking at how are these young people being able to even get these drugs when they are under 18. So that looking at the option of, so for someone like that who's drug addicted when they are 16, telling them to go back to school, you're no longer having a useful conversation with them because they need their drugs for tomorrow. So they're going to be out there doing child labor so they can be able to get the next fix. So it's dealing at it also from, looking at it from the supply side, but also ensuring that these young people are sufficiently occupied, that it's no longer something that's of interest to them.
Let's face it, Rachel, if it wasn't for moving the goalposts, if it wasn't for this program, other than you being out of a job and your 27 staff members, where would this be if it wasn't available, if this program wasn't there?
The problem would be that we would still have really high statistics with regards to girls' engagement with school, girls' engagement with health systems, and all those things. So that over the years, through programs such as ours, we've been able to mitigate some of the worst effects of those challenges that girls are facing. Girls being able to look at it and say, so I'm going to delay my marriage, I'm going to delay getting out of school, and I'm also, once I have one child, I'm also going to delay my second born. Because once you learn those lessons as a young person, they continue on even into their married life, so that you're working slowly to reduce the poverty indexes and to give the whole area a better chance at definitely having better statistics.
Yeah. And when you look down the line, Rachel, what do you see for moving the goalposts? What do you see for these young women and the next generation of young women, the Vision 2030 type?
For me, I see that over the years, moving the goalposts has produced over 10,000, if we were to count from the beginning, young leaders, women who are capable, who are skilled, who have confidence, who can stand in front of any audience and address them, who have a belief in themselves. And this is the generation that will change Kenya's future. This is the generation that will certainly change Kilifi's future, that's for sure. And so what I see is our impact being multiplied by the number of girls that are coming through the program. And for me, my greatest vision would be to see many other programs that have been started by girls who got out of our program and then say, I need to give back to my community, and I'm going to start a program here, and I'm going to start a program there. And really what that will result in is a diffusion of skills, of information, where we can be able to look at society and say we're in a different place from where we started, and we are definitely growing. And so for the organization itself, I see us becoming more of an advocacy group, speaking more loudly, and being able to stand and say, women can do it. Our slogan is Tunaweza. Yes, we can. And I believe that we can be able to get into the public space and be able to tell Kenyans that, yes, women can do it. Women can play football. Women can become leaders. Women can take up positions anywhere in society and can be able to change the future for our country.
Yeah. You know, we've been going around the country with a program, a weekly program called Sikika Sasa. Yes. I don't know if you watched it.
Yes.
And we always talk to youth, and they're always addressing their leaders. And you know, at the end of the day, the one thing they keep saying is, and I hate this saying, you know, serikali itusaidia, serikali inside. I hate that saying. What do you tell those people out there with this program? If it's working in, like you say, the 2 poorest counties in the country, what can the other 45 do?
To be honest, serikali itusaidia or serikali metusahau, those are phrases that we've had from the beginning of time. And they haven't helped us. They haven't helped anyone, any of those people who said those things. They did not then turn around and see a return for that. And so it's about young people looking and determining their future. Resources may be limited, but they're limited all over the world. Resources are always limited. We always want to do, even the government would like to do a lot more than it actually has the capacity to do. So it's to look at those limited resources that you have. What can you do with them? And also to look at it and say, like the UWEZA Fund and many other funds that have been opened, you will notice that the government wants to work with groups, wants to work with small businesses. In other words, they're not finding someone who is lazing around in their bed and saying, oh, come, we want to support you. Yeah. You're a young person, therefore you should get supported.
Or tweeting and Facebooking in their little living room.
You have to be out there doing something. You have to be part of a group, or you have to have an idea and something that you're working on. And then you can be able to be supported. But you can't be sitting at home complaining, saying there are no jobs. Have you applied? Have you tried to start your own thing? Have you done something? Have you, what are you doing to be able to get out of that situation? So sitting around complaining has not helped before. I can assure you it's not a strategy that works, so let it go. Just let's look at what, I know that resources are limited, but we do have resources to work with. We have intelligence, we have creativity, we have funds, we can be able to look out to people who would be able to support us. And so it's to get out there, start doing it, and then someone who finds you doing it already will come and be able to support you.
Yeah. And what do you as Rachel tell possible contributors, possible funders? Because, you know, when you think of the Siegel Family Foundation, I mean, it's incredible what they've done in helping outfits like yours across the region. What do you tell people out there who are interested in helping out and starting their own and growing this thing?
I'd say go in there. You better start it and then see where it goes, rather than saying, I'm not sure I can do something that big. Or work with something that already works. So finding an organization either like moving the goalposts or anywhere that's around you, and saying, I will add to the positive energy that I can already see moving, or I will add my resources, I will add my time, I will add my name to it, and I will be able to support these young people to move ahead. And so, and you can't, I keep saying, you can't talk about Kenya, you can't talk about our country negatively until you've tried something and it failed. So a lot of people will be sitting on their couches, saying, oh, this country is going,
to the dogs.
It's going to the dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hopeless.
Yeah.
This country, don't speak like that until you've tried. Tell us what you did to turn the course of this country. Tell us what investment did you make. It doesn't matter how small it was, but what have you done to try and salvage this country? What have you done to try and salvage one youth in your neighborhood who maybe you noticed has nothing they're doing and you can be able to maybe give them a small job? What have you done to salvage one young person? And so then we can have a conversation.
Yeah. Can you be able to move the goalposts beyond Kenya?
I believe we can. I believe we can. And the reason why one of the reasons is because we've already got a really good solid network of people who have seen what moving the goalpost does, who have believed in it, and who are supporting us from all over. And so to be able to go beyond the borders of Kenya is certainly a possibility. Yeah.
We have a few minutes left, Rachel. I want you to look into that camera there. There's a young lady watching you for the very first time who wasn't sure about where she was going, wasn't sure what she's doing with her life. What do you tell that young lady? What do you tell her? What kind of hope do you give her in a hopeless situation?
I would say this, and speaking to the young lady out there, is that you have to get up and be your own advocate, to be your own agent, because life will throw many things at you, but it's about what you do in that circumstance. It's not about who you ask for assistance, it's not about what your father will do for you, what your mother will do for you, what your country will do for you, but it's about what you will do in order to salvage yourself from that situation. So get out, look at the alternatives that there are out there, reach out for help and advice. Reach out and be able to look at what are the resources that are available to me, how can I be able to access them. If I have a challenge, maybe I need to be part of, maybe I don't even have a national identity card. Do I need to go out and apply for that card to be able to access the funds that the government is offering for young women? And so looking at your environment, yes, I keep saying resources are limited, but they can still help you to do something. So get out there, start doing it. Start a small business, look for a career choice that you can work towards. It doesn't happen overnight, but keep working at it. It's going to happen. Yeah. It's going to happen.
There's something really interesting you said in that line. You said, it's a quote from John F. Kennedy, right? Yes. Ask not what your country can do for you,
what you can do for your country. Oh, certainly.
And that's what these youth need to do, isn't it?
That's what this youth needs to do. We're not going to turn into a first world country without their innovation, without their creativity, without the input of just their energy. So we need to have the input of the youth, positive energy coming into the work that we're doing.
Yeah. And when you look at these kids, when you look at the potential futures, is the future bright?
The future is very bright. The future is blindingly bright. and I think it's bright because you can see where we've come from. This country has seen some dark days. We must remember we've seen some dark days as a country, but we're definitely already seeing seeing a lot of change, and we're seeing a lot more innovation. We're seeing a lot more space for development. And so for me, I think we're definitely headed in a direction where we can be able to say as a country, we're doing it for ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're doing it.
And these kids, these young people, this future, this youth we talk about, they have to see the glass as half empty, not half full.
As half full, not half empty.
Right?
Oh, true. They have to see it as half full because it starts with that small thing. It starts with that small business. It starts with that cyber cafe that you and 7 friends have come together to start with 3 computers. It starts with that small business of I can make bracelets, or I can do this, I can do that. And it's that small thing that then over the years turns into this big thing that they're all dreaming about. So it doesn't start with one day I was jobless and I was just chilling at home. The next day I was doing it big and I was running a multi-million business. No, there has to be a transition process. And so the young people have to be ready to invest the time and the energy that it will take for that transition to happen.
Yeah, really, it's the girls.
Yeah.
But it has to get to you at some point. You must look, you must wake up in the morning sometimes and say, I can't do this anymore. I can't, this is it.
Maybe we should go back to my background, because I'm a lawyer by profession, but I am also a women's rights advocate. And so my interest is in women's rights and looking at strategies that will get this women's rights movement to where we need to be. And so for me, I see this as a strategy that's part of the larger spectrum. So that even if I'm working with a girl today who I'm like, okay, I gave you the opportunity, you didn't grab it, you didn't take it the way I wanted you to, I know that it's still, there's a larger goal that's being achieved. And so as much as we may have challenges, setbacks, failings here and there, some of our programs may not go as well as we wanted, but then we are part of a larger thing, and that larger thing works.
And these young men, can they grow up to respect the women, unlike what we see on TV in the newspapers where they're stripping women at bus stops and molesting women? Can they learn to respect women?
They can, and they need to. One is that if they're taught at an early age, you know, the boys' teams that I was mentioning earlier that we are interacting with, when we go back into community forums, they are the first to speak up and to talk about the importance of ensuring that we protect the girls and that we take care of them. But for those who might have missed out and who are the ones standing at bus stops and considering disrobing women, I would say for them it's the long arm of the law. And I'm happy to see the response that the government has had on that issue. And I'm happy to see people facing facing jail time, because it's something that had become it was starting to become into part of culture.
Norm, yeah.
And it really needed to be nipped in the bud. And I'm happy that this response hopefully will be a lesson to those who are considering anything like that, that it's not an option. Even if you think that someone isn't dressed appropriately, the best you can do is you are not the moral police. So you don't have an option. You cannot go to disrupt them because you are angry or because you're incensed. Yeah. So that's not an option. And I'm happy that it's being brought to a place.
We are a decade and a half away from Vision 2030.
Yeah.
Will moving the goalpost still be around then?
Oh yes, certainly. We'll certainly be, and hopefully we'll be helping to move forward the agenda, the Vision 2030 agenda, and ensuring that by then our young girls who are now young girls, who will then be middle-aged women, will actually be the ones who are the driving force and who are implementing the things that need to be implemented in this country. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Great things you guys are doing. Very impressive.
Thank you.
Rachel Muthoga.
Thank you very
Congratulations. www.mtgk.org.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what a program. They should get involved.
They certainly should.
Across the country.
All over.
Everybody.
We need all the support that we can get.
All hands on deck.
Yes.
Rachel Muthoga and her team at Moving the Goalposts are doing just that. Changing lives one girl child at a time. MTG Kilifi is the Twitter handle. At Koinange Jeff, the hashtag is JKL. Girls, get on board. The future is so bright out there, it blinds my eyes. Keep watching all this Christmas and holiday season. It's about inspiring a whole new generation of Kenyans, the disenfranchised, the ones without hope, ones who thought they didn't have a future. You do. It begins right at your doorstep. But you need to get involved. That's the bottom line. Keep tweeting, keep watching. Thanks so much for watching this show. JKL continues throughout the holiday season. For now, thanks for watching. Good night and good luck.